Gerald, always good to see you. This fight week stash coming in strong again.
Yeah, absolutely.
How you feeling coming in this fight week?
I feel really good. Camp went great. Coming off 2 victories this year, and weight's in a good spot, so we're all good to go.
You have all this momentum moving forward, and they give you this killer that's coming in from out of the organization, former champ. Does that excite you? I mean, like, what are your thoughts? I mean, is that a reward for your work, or is that questionable? Like, you're like, why am I getting this new guy making his debut over into the UFC?
I mean, I think it's a good thing. I think there's a lot more. I think a lot more people know about de Ridder than maybe some of the people that only follow UFC give him credit for. Like, he is tough. He had a lot of belts in one FC, so that's nothing to shake your head at. And it's fun to be the one to welcome in somebody who was a double champ in a different organization, because I think it says a lot about me if I can go out there and get that finish on Saturday.
And I know he spoke very highly of you. He said he's been watching your fights as well. You got a lot of fights under your record as well, so it definitely a wealth of him to kind of be able to look and see what you've done as well. But you kind of touched on it a little bit there, but give me your thoughts on him as an opponent. Where's he dangerous, and what sort of things are you sort of expecting to see out there on Saturday?
I expect him to be at his best. He's a very, very good grappler. I mean, especially like straight jiu-jitsu style grappling. I think he's one of the last guys that like really goes out there and implements that in his game plan. I was just saying in a different interview that he's definitely more in the style of like a Gunnar Nelson or a Damian Maia, and I think he's just as dangerous as either of those guys. You know what I mean? He's got a very long build. He doesn't have like the traditional wrestling that you would think of for takedowns, but he has a lot of tricky little judo trips. He's going to get a holding people and jumping on their back, even though he's a big lanky guy. He kind of uses that to his advantage. And when he does get you down, he's going to work to like keep good top pressure and pass to get to that submission. It's probably not going to be as much ground and pound or striking and like riding wrestling control like that, but he's very good at getting to the sub. Obviously, throughout his career, most of his wins are by submission. And if he doesn't get the submission, you got to deal with that guy being clung to you for 15 or 25 minutes, depending on if you got a title fight or not. So he's definitely a game opponent.
And this is a guy that hasn't fought at middleweight since like maybe 2018. He looked fine when we saw him in there earlier. Is that ever something that you think about, coming in? Like, is there any worry if he's going to make weight, or is there the thought of maybe he's going to have a hard cut, maybe he's going to be depleted? Are these the sort of things when you think about somebody that is making a move back to a division that you've been in for a while?
I was surprised that he was coming in at 85, just because I think 205 would have been fine for him too. But I'm concentrated on myself feeling good and making weight, and if he says he can make it, I believe him. You know what I mean? If it's maybe it'll be a little bit harder than he's thinking, just because, like you said, it's been a while. But he would know better than anybody whether or not he can make the weight. And if he was really following like the 1FC style, like he was fully hydrated and making 205, then I have no doubt he'll make 185 just fine.
Yeah. And I mean, well, speaking of something like that, when somebody's going to be coming in and possibly has a big weight cut, does that affect the game plan? Is that the kind of thing that when you're coming in there, do you want to try to push them early, or to try to deplete them early if it was a hard cut? Or is that just the sort of thing that you don't think about and it'll just show itself as the rounds go on, as time goes on, if they did have a hard cut?
Yeah, I wouldn't really factor that in too much. Unless it was something where they were known to gas a lot and you knew they had a hard cut, then maybe that would play into your hand a little bit. But, we're so close to the fight now. All the training and the game planning has been done weeks ago, so there's not really much you're going to add now.
And I know he's coming in here hoping to use your experience, your name, to kind of make a name for himself. But, with the victory here, kind of what does that do for you? And give me your overall thoughts on where the division is right now.
It's definitely exciting. There's a lot of movement. I mean, we see the past couple weeks, there's a lot of guys kind of moving around, especially in the top 5. I think a win over de Ridder, if I win impressively enough, it could put me at number 15, but it definitely puts me in the conversation for fighting ranked guys. Absolutely. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Is that a goal? I mean, obviously you want to get the win on Saturday, but top 15, top 10, is that the immediate goal for 2024 or 2025?
To fight somebody that's ranked, that would be I said win on Saturday. I would either like to fight someone ranked after that, or just give me anybody with like a decent name on a big card, because like fighting somebody high in the rankings is important, but getting eyeballs on you and having great performances is just as, if not more so, important. So I would be fine with either of those. Like, even if it was like another debut guy who's has some kind of backing and is really tough, if it was on like the main card of a huge pay-per-view, I'd be more than happy with that. Not that I get to make that decision, but if I got my choice, that's what I would pick.
Well, I mean, speaking of, I mean, if you had your choice, I'm sure you'd like to fight in front of fans. I mean, you do feel that you fight a little bit differently if there's more fans available to watch you fight.
Yeah, I don't know if it makes a difference. The sound is definitely different. It's
Yeah.
definitely cool. But I've said this so many times, I love fighting in front of fans. The atmosphere of a stadium, there's like nothing to compare it to. But the Apex is great. The crowds are always star-studded. And again, if it's for a way for guys to make money and like fight more often, I'm all for it.
And looking at like what the construction going on next year, you never know that the layout might be a little bit different in here as well. Just on Saturday, your keys to the victory. What needs to happen to make sure you get your arm raised on Saturday?
I plan on being in his face and dictating the pace of the fight and where it goes. You know what I mean? If I sit back and let him do what he wants to do, and you let him get started, especially someone who's really good at grappling. Like if you get to a dominant position, you got to work really hard to get out of that position and start to get your own offense off. So just make sure that I stay on the A side and I do the decision making and I decide where the fight goes and give him, don't let it be one-way traffic anywhere. Try to kind of bully him, and I think that's the key to victory.
Thanks for taking the time. You've been there, done that, and now we have a guy with a title reign, 2 divisions outside of the UFC. They talked about these UFC jitters. Do you think that's a thing for him this weekend, and you'll have a mental edge at all?
I didn't experience it. I mean, it was a long time ago, but like I had a lot of fights before I got to the UFC, and I wasn't even on anything, big. I was on local shows, right? So, could it be real? It could be, but I don't know. I think that comes down to the individual, and whether or not that makes a difference. I'm not sure it's going to matter in this fight.
All right. We've seen you so much, and you're just a veteran in the game. Always treat people with respect and bring that level of expertise. With what you have going on this weekend with the main card, is there a little bit of a homecoming since you're so comfortable at Apex? You seem so chill all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I've fought here a lot, man. So, for me, it's if you're not going to have a huge crowd, it is nice. Everything's right here. The PI's next door. The UFC staff's always great. It's easy to get everywhere. Whatever you need, you can find in Vegas for sure. So, I guess, this is like kind of my home away from home at this point.
Are there any, and that's awesome, by the way. That's such an advantage. Are there anything new that you could share with us that you added to this fight camp, to your bag of tricks, anything, little tweaks here and there?
Nothing crazy. I mean, the only thing that I did a little bit differently was I was a lot more disciplined on for strength and conditioning, instead of, doing exactly what I had been doing before. I followed an outline, but just got back to super basic stuff, just building good old-fashioned horsepower, heavy lifts, heavy movements, heavy back squats, heavy bench. Nothing crazy as far as accessory movements, just enough to keep my joints intact, but just good old-fashioned powerlifting to add some extra stopping power.
That's awesome, man. And last for me, the way you describe them, clearly someone has been studying tape. Do you welcome it going to the mat? Kind of like, yeah, man, let me show me what you got.
Yeah, I'm ready for wherever it goes. You know what I mean? Like I said, as long as I'm the one dictating the pace and pushing forward into him, I'm fine with whatever happens.
Yes, sir. Well, can't wait to see it, and good luck on Saturday.
You mentioned that the powerlifting. Sorry, I know a lot of times when we hear fighters come in, they when they tend to lip, they talked about more like just functional lifting. Enough to work speed and strength. But powerlifting and lifting heavy, is that something that's always been part of your training regime, or is that something that you've taken on more as you've gone on in the sport and as you've got older?
It's kind of always been part of it, but it's just there was a lot of other stuff that maybe I didn't have time for. I just focused on the meat and potato stuff. And really I'm not powerlifting to be a powerlifter, right? But you do big heavy movements that will check all the boxes. You're going to move faster. You're going to you do a heavy squat, you're going to get higher foot force production, which is ultimately going to help everything else. Now, you still got to sprint and do other stuff to make sure that transfers, but getting stronger will improve everything. Heavy bench press, same exact thing. I think all guys do is when they say, I do functional stuff, they either A, don't actually understand what they're talking about, or they're just not including that they also do that. And some guys are naturally freakishly strong, but, the low-hanging fruit for anybody that wants to get in shape, but especially professional athletes, is move heavy stuff, get enough sleep, and eat like an adult.
Thank you very much.